بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد. So we said that Imam Al-Bukhari, he chose the best ahadith, meaning the most authentic, to put in his book. In fact, what pushed him to write this book, Sahih al-Bukhari, as he mentions himself, he says, I saw in a dream that I was fanning, meaning to use as a fan. I was fanning the dhubab. What do you call dhubab? The flies. I was fanning away the flies from the face of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the flies were trying to come to the face of the Prophet ﷺ, and he, Imam Bukhari, he was fanning them away. It's like he was protecting the Prophet ﷺ. That's the dream he saw. So next day he went to his Shaykh, the great Imam of Hadith also, and Fiqh. His name is Ishaq ibn Ibrahim al-Rahawayh. And he asked him, what does this dream mean? And his Shaykh, he said to him, you are defending the Prophet ﷺ from the lies people ascribe to him. Because many people say, the Prophet said this, the Hadith said that, and it's not true. So that is the dream he saw. And then his Shaykh suggested one day, he said, why don't one of you compile a book of Hadith only of authentic Hadith? And that is how Bukhari decided to write or compile this book. And he says himself, every hadith he put in his book, he would pray 2 rak'ahs before it. You know how many hadiths are in Sahih Bukhari?
With the repeated or no?
Without repetition.
5,775.
No, without repetition is 2,653. Without repetition. With repetition it comes to 7,200 and something.
Yeah.
You can double check the numbers. So he prayed 2 rak'ahs before every hadith he put. That is how zealous and how passionate they were. Today, me and you, we just prayed dhuhr, you felt, oh, this is so long, man. This Imam, just give salam. He prayed 2 rak'ahs before every hadith he put in the book. Now, okay, I'm going to use this makeshift whiteboard at the back here to show you why we say this narration is not correct. The Prophet ﷺ it never happened that he wanted to commit suicide. So this was not part of the plan of the class, but we have to do it for you to understand. I said don't write, don't do what? Before thinking of something else. Don't chat. Don't chat. And use a little bit of your thinking now though. You'll need it. Can you eat? Yeah, I'm not eating though. You can drink, you can't eat. If you're eating, just finish it, please. Don't say, it's not Ramadan. Okay. I'm going to do this which one should I use? These ones are the same. Same? Okay. Camera people. Everybody can see that?
Yeah.
It's big enough? What we are discussing, I guess you can hear me, right? You can hear me?
For the recording.
Then someone will have to hold it for me.
I'll do it. Give me the that way.
have the wireless one? Okay, good. Give me the wireless one. We are discussing the same hadith, the hadith about the wahi. Yes.
Do you mind moving?
No, I don't mind moving it. Can you move that light, please? Just bring it right in between there so everybody can see. You guys can see?
No.
Just take it out of wherever you're going to put it. Put it behind you. No, you need the lights though. Yes, you need the lights.
None of you is fit to work in Hollywood.
Okay, you focus on me while they're doing that. We're discussing the same hadith. The hadith of how wahi came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Aisha radiallahu anha, she says, revelation started that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to see a dream, and the dreams will become true in reality. Remember that? Yesterday. And then he said once when he was in the cave of Hira, and the story continued. This being appeared and said, read, squeezed him, said, I don't know how to read. Up to the end of the story, then Khadija took her to, he sallallahu alaihi wasallam went back to Khadija. Khadija calmed him down, took him to Waraqa. Waraqa said, I wish I'll be young and support you. Then Waraqa died, and the wahi stopped. That is where the hadith stops. فَلَمْ يَنْشَبْ وَرَقَ أَنْ تُوُفِّيَ وَفَتَرَ الْوَحْيِ. Waraqa did not live long, he died, and the wahi stopped. And we said the correct opinion is it stopped for a number of days, as Ibn Abbas is saying. That is hadith number 3 in Sahih al-Bukhari. You open Sahih Bukhari, English, French, Urdu, Arabic version, it is hadith number 3. Because that's how Bukhari, he arranged his book. He started by explaining how Islam started. Wahi, how did it come? It is hadith number 3. But as you know, Bukhari, he repeats hadith in his book. That is why he said, if you read Bukhari, there's 7,000 and something hadith. But that is with repetition. Without repetition is only 2,500 or 600 hadith. So he brings the same hadith in chapter of Revelation. He brings the same hadith maybe in dreams, because the hadith has a dream. He brings the same hadith in book of fasting like that. He repeats the same hadith in his book, but he only repeats it if there's another benefit. I'm not going too technical today, like I said. This is now knowledge of hadith. I just want you to understand basic. That's why I say don't write, don't chat, just think a little bit. He repeats hadith. So this hadith is repeated around 6 times in Bukhari. But the first one, which is number 3 in Sahih Bukhari, it stops there. And that is the hadith. Then Waraqa died and wahi stopped. And now, did Bukhari see Aisha, so he took this hadith from her? No. Bukhari, when was he born?
200.
Nope. When was Bukhari born?
He died in 256.
He was born in 198.
198. Yeah.
Okay? So 198. Aisha died around 54, 56. So obviously they did not meet. That is why in knowledge of hadith we have something called what? The chain of narration. The isnad. It's like me today saying to you guys, oh, one day, Hitler, he told me, oh, okay, bad example, sorry. Not Hitler. One day, what was that guy's name?
Donald Trump.
Now, someone who died, who I never met. One day, Abraham Lincoln, we were sitting drinking tea together, and he said to me, this and that and that. It's obvious, though, that he died way before my father was born. There was no way I met Abraham Lincoln. You understand? Abraham Lincoln used to be a slave owner, but he was like the first president of America. You understand? It's like me saying my great grandfather told me this and that. I never saw my grandfather, let alone my great grandfather. So how am I transmitting? There has to be a chain. I can say though, my father, who's still alive, alhamdulillah, he told me that my grandfather, his father, told him that his father said this and that. Now what do I have? I have a chain of transmission. It's called in Arabic, isnad. That is how hadith works. Because you and I cannot come today and say, oh, the Prophet said. Where do you get that? You understand? So we have a chain for every hadith. Every hadith has a chain. I should have gone this way actually. It's okay. So this hadith of ours comes from Aisha. It comes from Aisha. She's the one who tells us this hadith. But Bukhari never met Aisha. So who took it from Aisha? It's a name we used here before. His name is... That's very thin. His name is Urwa.
No, Zubayr.
Urwa bin Zubayr. In the beginning of this Seerah class, we mentioned last time, one of the main scholars of the Seerah in Islam. In fact, the first person to compile a book of Seerah is Urwa bin Zubayr. And his father is Zubayr bin Awam. We mentioned he is the cousin of the Prophet ﷺ. But Urwa never met the Prophet because he was born after, he was young. But he took a lot of knowledge from Aisha because Aisha is his aunt. We said because his mother is Asma bint Abu Bakr, the sister of Aisha. Urwa is one of the main scholars of Islam in hadith, in seerah, and everything. This is the actual chain in Sahih Bukhari. This hadith of ours. From Urwa, who narrated from Urwa? We have someone called, what's his name? I forgot. The main guy actually. You have Ibn Shihab. Ibn Shihab, famously known as Az-Zuhri. One of the great scholars of Islam again. Muhammad ibn Muslim ibn Shihab Az-Zuhri. He's the first man to be commissioned to gather hadith into a book during the Khilafah of Umar ibn Abdulazeez. So I told you, don't write. This is all recorded. You can go back and refer to these names I'm throwing around to you. Just listen to me. Now from Ibn Shihab though, there's 3 of his main students who brought this hadith. The hadith we just read, which is number 3 in Sahih Bukhari, it comes from 2 people. One of them is Uqayl. His name is Uqayl. He actually narrated this hadith. First it was a dream and then it became true and then the Jibreel came and then Wahy stopped. Simple. That's the hadith. And also it comes from another student of Ibn Shihab. His name is Yunus. From those 2, it goes to Al-Layth. And from Layth, it goes to the Shaykh of Bukhari now. And it comes to Bukhari. That is the chain. I knew this would happen actually. I knew it. AMA, you owe your laundry, at least you have to do my dry cleaning, please. That is the actual chain in Sahih Bukhari. Is it clear, simple? So Bukhari narrated from his Shaykh, from Layth ibn Sa'd. Layth took it from Uqayl and Yunus. They took it from Ibn Shihab, who said that Urwa bin Zubair said, Aisha said that the first revelation which came from the Prophet ﷺ was what? Dreams. And they used to become true. And then one day he was in the cave of Hira. He was worshipping there. And then this angel came and squeezed him and said, Iqra, read. To the end of the hadith. That is the actual chain. Every hadith has to have a chain. If it doesn't have a chain, we say this hadith is not sahih, it's da'if. That's basic hadith knowledge. Now, our hadith, we say it is hadith number 3 in Bukhari, and then it comes another 6 times. None of those times mentions the addition which says, and then when wahi stopped, the Prophet ﷺ was stressed, and he would go on top of the mountains and try to throw himself, and Jibreel would come and say, don't throw yourself, you're a prophet. We go to hadith number 3, Sahih Bukhari, it doesn't mention that. The next one doesn't mention that. The next one doesn't mention that. But one narration comes, it mentions that. It goes again. The beginning of revelation was a dream, and then the dream became true, and then this day, the cave of Hira, Angel Jibreel came and squeezed me and said, Iqra, read. And then wahi stopped. And then Az-Zuhri said, now in this narration, Az-Zuhri said, and it has reached me. Who's Az-Zuhri? Point to me Az-Zuhri. Point like you have long hands. Where's Az-Zuhri? Our aunt here, she mentioned a very good point. When we said logically we can debunk this thing. Who was there? Did this guy who said the Prophet wanted to commit suicide, was he there? No. Was Aisha there? No. Was Urwa bin Zubair there? We said Urwa never met the Prophet ﷺ. No. So he automatically never met the Prophet. Do you understand? He is the guy, Ibn Shihab al-Zuhri, he says, and that's how it comes in Bukhari, it has reached me, meaning it's just another story. In Arabic it says, وَقَدْ بَلَغَنَا. In the knowledge of hadith, that is not considered. It's just like you saying today, I heard in the radio. Who cares? They say everything in the radio. Do you understand me? So this story comes from a man who never met Aisha, let alone meeting the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And is that clear? If it's not clear, tell me. I'll repeat. I have no problem with doing that. I'm saying again, the story as it comes, the Prophet ﷺ began with what? Dreams. The dreams will become true. And then Angel Jibreel came into the cave of Hira, squeezed me, Iqra, read. I don't know how to read. Second time, third time. Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq, khalaqa al-insana min alaq, to the end. The Prophet ran home, terrified, scared. He says to Khadija radiallahu anha, zammiluni, zammiluni, cover me, cover me. He says, I fear for myself, I'm going to die. Something bad happened to me. What happened to you? He explains his story. Khadija said, no. She mentioned 5 things, yesterday's lecture. You take care of the guests, you are good to the weak and the poor, you take care of the of your relatives, and you aid and help the people who stand up for justice. Allah cannot destroy or do bad things to you. When he calmed down a bit, she took him to who? Waraqa bin Nawfal. He said, listen to your cousin. And Waraqa was an old man who was a Muslim following the religion of Isa. The Prophet explained his story. He said, that was Jibreel. I wish I was young so I can help you the day they kick you out of Makkah. They'll kick me out. He said, yes, nobody comes with this message except the people are going to have enmity to him. And then Waraqa died and wahi stopped. That is the hadith. That is how it comes. But this one part in Sahih Bukhari, Az-Zuhri has this addition now. He says, and it has reached us, whatever we read now. And it has reached us that after that the Prophet was stressed, so he'd go up on the mountain trying to kill himself and Jibreel would come. That is only from Az-Zuhri. In hadith terminology, anyone who never met the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, anyone who's not a Sahabi, is not a companion, if they say the Prophet did this and that, in hadith terminology, in Islam generally, we said that is not accepted. Why? It's like me saying Abraham Lincoln told me this and that. I never met him. It's like me saying my great-grandfather told me that. My father was not born when he died. Do you understand? So we say what? There's a break. There's a break in the chain. There's a break. You never met the Prophet ﷺ. How do you know about these details? This is deen. This is not, Walmart has a sale No, it's not, there's a collision on, I don't know, hunt club and whatever. No, this is deen. You have to have your chain to the Prophet ﷺ strong and good. So that is point number 3, to show you that this is not authentic. It didn't come from a Sahabi, not from Urwa bin Zubair who talked from Aisha. It came from Ibn Shihab. And all of the scholars of Islam, all of them, scholars of Hadith precisely, they all agreed. If Ibn Shihab, he says the Prophet did this and that, it's da'if. It's weak. Because he never saw the Prophet ﷺ. All of them agreed on that. Do you understand? 4th point. You guys actually understood. How you say that again in French? I'm sorry, man. I remember when I'm in Ottawa, when I leave, it goes out. How do you say, do you understand in French? That, yes. It's difficult. Another point, point number 4. Why this narration is weak. Uqayl, he narrated the story. He never mentioned this addition, and then the Prophet went to kill himself. No. As I told you, if you go to Hadith number 3, Sahih Bukhari, you'll never find that. Yunus, he narrated this story from their Shaykh Ibn Shihab. They never had that addition. It is only from a 3rd student. His name is Ma'mar. Ma'mar. He is the only one who brought that story from his Shaykh. And that's another way to show you that it is not authentic. When you have 2, and these are stronger students than Ma'mar of Ibn Shihab. It's like today, 80% of you leave the class and say, that's what the Shaykh said. And then 10% say, no, he said that and said X, Y, Z. Where do you get that? 2 of them never mentioned that story. Only he mentioned that story. And these ones, they're considered to be stronger students of Ibn Shihab than Ma'mar. So you have your A students, the good students, they never mention the story. But the student who always sits at the back of the class, no offense to anyone, I'm not pointing you guys out, always comes late. He is a DE student, you just let him in the class because his father. He comes and adds to the story. We say, no man, chill bro, no. We don't want that story. Especially now it's in the matters of the deen, the Prophet, a major sin, no. These are 4 points I've given you today. Number 1, number 2 was logical. What was number 1? We said, who was there to see this event happening? Nobody. Number 2 was what? We said the Prophet ﷺ is ma'soom. He's infallible. He doesn't commit sins. It's impossible for him to contemplate suicide. Number 3, we see that it is a story from Ibn Shihab. It is not from Aisha. It is not from Urwa bin Zubair. In hadith terminology, it is called munqati'. It is disconnected. There's no connection of that story. It's disconnected. Anything disconnected is not acceptable. And number 4, we said what? 2 of the main students of Ibn Shihab, they never mentioned that story. It is not befitting for the greatest prophet of Allah to contemplate suicide, let alone actually go on the mountain to try to do it. It's impossible. And point number 5 is going to come now as we move ahead in the seerah. Because what does the story say? It's just a story again. It says whenever you go up the mountain, what will happen? Jibreel would come and say, no, don't kill yourself, you're a prophet of Allah. And then he'd go back, but Wahy will not come, he'll go back to the mountain. Jibreel will come again and say, don't kill yourself, you're a prophet of Allah. Right? Now point number 5, to show you that was not true. That was not true. So Wahy, it stopped, revelation stopped for a few days. Open your, was it page 89?
Yeah.
So what was the reason behind the pause and revelation? It was for him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so he can get prepared. Like we said, he was terrified before, he was scared. This is an unnatural, extraordinary event, which supernatural. It paused for a few days so he can calm down. He can assess the situation and take everything in. I am now a prophet of God. I'm no longer Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. I'm a prophet of God. Everything has changed. I see what people don't see. Can you imagine that? I hear what people don't hear. I am the one who was prophesied in the Torah, which Waraqa used to read. That's me. There had to be a few days of preparation. Then what happened? Page 90 at the top, actually. Page 90 at the top. The Prophet ﷺ says, and what I'm going to read now is hadith number 4 in Sahih Bukhari. So right after that hadith, this is hadith number 4. While I was walking, the Prophet ﷺ says, while I was walking, I heard a voice from the sky. I looked up, and surely enough, it was the same angel who had visited me in the cave of Hira. He was sitting on a huge chair between the earth and the sky. When I saw that, I was afraid of him, and I knelt on the ground. He just went down on the ground, the Prophet ﷺ. We said, why again? Remember, Jibreel is one of the greatest creations of Allah. Jibreel has 600 wings. One wing covers the east to the west. He sees him again, the same person who he was terrified about in the cave. Now he's sitting on a chair between the heavens and the earth. And he called him, Ya Muhammad, oh Muhammad. Immediately the Prophet ﷺ, filled with fear, he went to the ground. And I went home running, saying to my wife again, Dathiruni, dathiruni. Cover me, cover me. That is when Allah revealed to me these verses. يا أيها المدثر قم فأنذر وربك فكبر وثيابك فطهر والرجز فهجر. The beginning of Surah Al-Muddaththir, which is chapter 74. Allah says, يا أيها المدثر, O you who is covered in the garments, covered in the blanket. قم, stand up, arise, فأنذر, and warn the people. وَرَبَّكَ فَكَبِّرْ, and your Lord Allah should magnify Him and glorify Him. وَثِيَابَكَ فَطَهِرْ, and your clothes, your garments, purify them. وَالرُّجْزَ فَهْجُرْ, and keep away from the idols. The Prophet ﷺ says, after that, the revelation started coming strongly and frequently and regularly until the day he died. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This is my 5th point to show you that he never wanted to kill himself. How and why? Who can tell me? I'll repeat what happened here. After a few days, as Ibn Abbas says, one day the Prophet ﷺ is walking. He saw the same angel who had come to him in the cave of Hira, sitting on a chair between the heavens and the earth, and called him, Ya Muhammad. Filled with fear, he went to the ground, he ran home. Cover me, cover me. The angel went to him in his home and said to him, Ya ayyuhal muddaththir. Oh, the one who's covered up. Qum fa'andhir, stand up and warn. وَثِيَابَكَ فَطَهِرْ وَرَبَّكَ فَكَبِّرْ, and glorify your Lord and purify your garments and stay away from the rujz, the idols. And then wahi came after that. In this hadith, there is a proof that the Prophet never wanted to commit suicide, and that story is just a story. How?
Because he said that the same angel that came to him.
Very good. If he used to see Jibril so many times when he's going up the mountain to commit suicide, and he says, don't worry Muhammad, you're a prophet. Why is he scared now when he saw him another 5, 10 different times? Right? These are 5 points. Next time Jehovah's Witness, they knock on your door, or the Christian evangelist, they come to say, oh, you know, your prophet tried to commit suicide. You give him these 5 points. And then tell him, you know, Isa was a Muslim also. Jesus was a Muslim. Is it clear? Do you have any questions just on this? Don't ask me anything else, please. I said don't think.
Can you explain again where in Bukhari the hadith with the narration with Ma'mar comes up?
The narration of Ma'mar, it comes in hadith number 6,200 and something.
So it's one of the repetitions,
It's one of the repetitions.
and it comes up only once?
It comes up from, if I'm not wrong, once, yes. And that's what I told you. Bukhari was a genius. So first, I don't know if some of you watched my videos on YouTube when I was explaining Sahih Bukhari. He only repeats hadith if there's a benefit. He doesn't just repeat something for the sake of it, no. Like I told you, it's a book with code. It's a coded book. He only repeats hadith to show you it is weak. So he brought this hadith in his book 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. It never had that story. And then once he brought it, he says, and Az-Zuhri said. To show you that this is just words of Az-Zuhri. Next time you hear these words, don't say the Prophet said. Do you understand? And this tells you what again? Not everything which is in Sahih Bukhari should just be referred to Sahih Bukhari. Don't write, don't chat. Stay away from Instagram, Twitter right now. Don't think. Listen to me. I'm very serious. Bukhari, yes, he brought, like I said, the cream de la cream, the best hadith. But he also brought other things which are not on his conditions. Bukhari, he also brings his own opinions. He says, I think this and that. Even though not a lot. He also brings the opinions of men like Ibn Shihab al-Zuhri, because he was a great scholar. He also brings the statements of Urwa bin Zubair and the other tabi'in. He also brings a lot of statements of the Sahaba. Aisha said this and that. Umar said this and that. So it's not just a book of hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. It's a book of everything. So the next time you want to say, this hadith is in Bukhari, make sure it's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. And if it is a hadith, someone says, this hadith is in Bukhari, then you as a Muslim, you say, okay, that is authentic. Anything else, maybe it's not authentic. The hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, he's above here. All of that in Sahih Bukhari is authentic, completely. No doubt. Anyone else's statement, they can make a mistake. They're human at the end of the day. Let me give you a good example so you understand. We have Aisha, she narrated like a quarter of our religion. Name me one other Sahabi companion who narrated a lot of hadith. Other than Abu Hurairah, man. That's the easiest one. Abdullah bin Abbas, very good. Good. You're thinking now. I said, don't think though. Abdullah bin Abbas. We have bin Abbas here. Who's Ibn Abbas? Someone give me quickly because we're learning the Seerah. Who's Ibn Abbas? The cousin of the Prophet ﷺ. His father is Al-Abbas. Al-Abbas is the brother of Abdullah, the father of the Prophet. So they're cousins. Ibn Abbas was a great scholar, genius, pure genius. Genius at the age of 13. Genius at the age of 13. I want to point an example to show you that in Bukhari, other than the words of the Prophet ﷺ, anybody else, there could be a mistake, because they're humans at the end of the day. Ibn Abbas says, the Prophet ﷺ got married to Maymuna, radiallahu anha, while he, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, was in a state of ihram, meaning he was in Hajj or Umrah. When you go for Hajj or Umrah, you're in a state of ihram. Ibn Abbas says, in Sahih Bukhari, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam got married to Maymuna while he, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, was in a state of ihram. What's wrong with that?
No, not an ihram.
Huh?
He didn't get
It's
married.
not logic.
No.
It's true. Very good. Because the Prophet ﷺ is saying, in the state of ihram, it's haram for you to get married, let alone get married. It's haram for even to witness a marriage or to be the one who's doing the marriage. It goes against his statement, which is a clear hadith. Not only that, it goes against someone is thinking and chatting. It goes against the statement of Maymuna herself, and Maymuna was the aunt of Ibn Abbas, by the way, from his mother, from Ibn Abbas's mother. That's why Ibn Abbas took a lot of hadith from Maymuna, because he had direct access. He didn't have to wear hijab. and he used to go and sleep over with the Prophet ﷺ. The day the Prophet ﷺ is at Maymuna's house, he would go to sleep over. Maymuna says, the Prophet ﷺ did not get married to me when he was set of ihram. So we have this narration of Ibn Abbas in Sahih Bukhari, but you have a statement of Maymuna herself. He says, no, he was not in a state of ihram. So we say, in Sahih Bukhari there is human errors. Yes, there is human error. You understand? But not the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, no. Other people, yeah, they made mistakes. You understand? That's just one small example. What time is it?
2:35.
You can think now. Ask your questions. Just on this, please.
If two of Ibn Shihab students didn't continue on that narration, then how do we know that it was him that said that and not?
That is a what's the word? There is an opinion which is out there also. Some of the scholars say this one is not even from Ibn Shihab, it's just from Ma'mar.
Could you please repeat the question?
The question, the sister says, if two of Ibn Shihab's students never mentioned this story, that Ibn Shihab said that, only Ma'mar mentioned that, how do we know that it's not from Ma'mar himself and not from Ibn Shihab? Some scholars actually said that. They said this story is from Ma'mar. It's not even from his Shaykh Ibn Shihab. Why? Because of your point. Two of the stronger students never mentioned this. Another question, yes.
Yes, sir. Since yesterday when you mentioned Aisha and this hadith, I was asking so many questions. One of them, Aisha married...
I know your question. Because I can feel you thinking.
I am glad you do. Now
I can say what you're thinking actually.
we are on the same track.
If I'm right, how much are you going to give me?
Anything you want.
You can't give me anything I want. You don't even know what I want. He is going to ask, Aisha, where was she when all of this was happening?
Exactly.
When the Prophet ﷺ was in the cave of Hira.
Yep.
Was she even born? Huh? When was Aisha born?
She was not born then.
She was not born.
No.
So where did she come with this story? And now we know if you do not have a chain, it's not authentic. Just like he didn't have a chain. So,
And also, same...
by the way, stop, please, stop. How do you say stop in French?
Arrête.
Arrête, I know that because I see the sign.
Arrête.
Stop, was I right? That's
Yes.
what you're thinking?
Absolutely.
I'll tell you what I want after.
Yes. No problem.
Tell me the answer though. Aisha was never there. Very good. Aisha heard it from the Prophet ﷺ. And any Sahabi, by the way, this is a general rule in the knowledge of Hadith. Any companion of the Prophet ﷺ, like Ibn Abbas, Abu Huraira, Aisha, if they say the Prophet ﷺ did this and that, he said this and that, even if they were not there, it is authentic. And that is part of our belief, not just Hadith studies. Ahl Sunnah, that is part of our Aqidah. Because Allah praised the Sahaba in the Quran, so many verses, that they are people who are trustworthy, reliable. They take information from other Sahaba, or they take it from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Aisha, all of us know, she was very studious, inquisitive. She took a lot from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's why she is the one narrating to us stories of Khadija. She never met Khadija. She said, why do you always mention that old woman? Why? We have known now why. Because she was there when no one else was there for the Prophet ﷺ. That is why Aisha, can never reach the status of Khadija. Because Khadija was there the day he needed her most. He needed everyone most. The day when Wahy started. Anyway, that's the answer. Next question. Just on this, if you didn't understand anything. If it was too fast, I beg your pardon. These lectures are recorded. You can always go back to the recordings. The previous weeks, the last how do I say it? The first part of the course is already online on YouTube in AMA's channel. It's already there. So if you missed anything, you can go back. This also will be uploaded in the next week or two, inshallah. Any more questions? Yes.
Sheikh, I'm not sure if you already answered this, but why did Imam Bukhari included that version of the hadith in his Sahih Bukhari?
I mentioned that. Why did Imam Bukhari include this version? Because Bukhari first, like I told you, he mentions the hadith which is sahih, authentic, no doubt. And then he mentions it again. And then he's going to mention the one which there's something in it to show you that this one there's a problem. He only mentions to pinpoint the problem.
So he explains that there is a problem with this.
He doesn't necessarily put a footnote. That is why you have to study and know how to break down and understand Sahih Bukhari. The man was a genius. The man was a genius. And the outstanding thing of Sahih Bukhari is not just authenticity, is how he arranged the book. If all of us came up together today, with all due respect to myself and to all of you, we have smart minds, I know we're all smart, alhamdulillah, we cannot do the work he did. We can't. The guy was a real genius. And the fact that the whole Muslim ummah agreed to that until today, that tells you a lot.
We know that the hadith is not authentic. Why do they keep putting it in Seerah?
That is the problem. Why do they keep putting these things in the Seerah? That is why we said the Seerah books. I mentioned this in the beginning, last time. Seerah books are full of unauthentic information. That is a sad reality. Imam Ahmad rahimahullah was one of the great Imams of Hadith. He said that. He said 3 types of knowledge, they carry everything, man. Everything. Good, bad, valuable, trash, garbage, they have everything. One of them is Seerah. Another one is Tafsir. That's the reality. That is why, alhamdulillah, now Allah, like I said in the beginning of this series of lectures last time, Allah brought scholars from like 1940, 1950, who filtered out and purified the Seerah. Shaykh Akram, Diya al-Umari, Tarhuni, Shaykh al-Albani, all of these people came and said, no, this stuff is not authentic. In fact, it's not just not authentic, it goes against Islamic teachings. You know, we can't prove everything in the Seerah, but some stuff you don't have to prove it. Like we said, how old was Khadija when she got married to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? How old was she?
40.
Huh? What? 40. Okay, and the other opinion? She was 28. And I like that opinion, to be honest. I feel it's more authentic. But we don't have to fight about that, but it doesn't change anything of the Seerah. Because there's no way to prove it, and it doesn't change any part of our Islam today. The Islam you need to go to Jannah and to be saved from the hellfire, it doesn't depend on how old Khadija was. But we said we know she was older. That's the fact. Do you understand? We can't prove anything. But something which goes against the teachings of Islam, then we have to say, whoa, 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 stop. How did this come about? Do you understand? So we take the books of the Seerah, and from them we filter out what is good. Alhamdulillah, that is why we are here today. That is why I told you we need to rewrite the book. Yes?
What was the third thing that Imam Ahmed mentioned?
I can't remember, to be honest. Imam Ahmad said 3 things. They carry all kinds of narrations, good, bad, authentic, da'if, fabricated lies. He said Seerah, he said Tafsir. If I'm not wrong, he said Tarikh, history of Islam. And that is even worse, by the way. The history from after the Prophet ﷺ, ya Allah. Because every corrupted mind went and wrote whatever they want to write. You'll be amazed the stuff they wrote. And most of it was corrupted by the Shia. Most of it was corrupted by the Shia, the Tarikh, the history of Muslims. That's why you see it is so negative, if not cursing on dispraising and disparaging the Sahaba of the Prophet ﷺ. Any more questions? No questions on the Shias, not today. Any questions? Good. Okay, so then the wahi continues. I'll keep standing, I'm comfortable. Is that okay for you guys? Can we bring back our lights? You don't have to see me that much, please. Bring back our lights. I'm joking. So it's better for the recording. One here, one there. So then wahi restarted. After a few days, the Prophet ﷺ saw him. Jibreel, he was scared. He ran home. And this time he said, dathiruni, cover me. Cover me. It is page number what? 90?
Yeah.
Huh?
90.
Yes. Page number 90. So the first 5 verses, watch out. You're okay there. The first, it's okay, we'll take a break soon. The first 5 verses of Surah Al-Muddaththir were revealed. I'm going to discuss these verses now. It's very important we understand why is this the second revelation which comes to the Prophet ﷺ. It must be significant, right? Why didn't Allah bring Surah Al-Baqarah then? Why didn't Allah bring Surah Al-Fatiha? Right? So we're going to go verse by verse. Do a little tafsir, just a little. Can you write? Up to you. If I was you, I wouldn't write. But I have a different style of learning myself. I don't write when my teacher is speaking. Don't write. Because psychologically it's been proven it takes away from your mind capacity. Either you sit and listen or you write. And don't tell me, oh, I'm good at multitasking. Yeah, sure. I was taught, sit, listen, understand your teacher. If you don't understand, say, I don't understand. Once you have understood, write what you understood. Don't write verbatim. Don't copy paste your teacher's words. You don't need to do that. My words are not the Quran. Those of you who come to the class in the university, you've heard me saying that a lot, right? Anyone? Shake your head. Yeah. Listen, understand, and then write. If I said, the way to Toronto is XYZ, and you write, the way to Toronto is actually X through Y and then past Z, who cares? It's the same way. I didn't say through and past. You said through and past, it's okay. Wahi stopped. And then this revelation came. Before I go ahead, though, why is the Prophet ﷺ scared? Is this normal? It's normal? It is normal, actually. Some of us may have a bit of a negative thinking. Why is he scared? He's not the first one to be scared. This is unnatural, supernatural, extraordinary. You hear a voice and then you see this huge being sitting between the heaven and the earth. Who else was scared? In the Quran, Allah tells us. Musa alayhi salam. Musa actually ran. Why? Because his stick, his staff, in proper English it's called the staff, but we call it stick. He knows it for how many years? He's been with that stick for 10 years. Imagine your hubby, your wife of 10 years. One day she turned into a snake, man. It's a bad joke, I know, but imagine, sisters, your husband turned into a snake one day. An actual big snake. Moving. You would run, never come back. No need of talaq, no need of divorce. We're done. Khalas, I'm not coming back. Keep my clothes also. 10 years, the guy, and then he turns into a snake. Musa was scared. What is in your right hand? He said, here, asaya, it's my stick. Because he was a shepherd. He used the stick every day. Allah says, throw it. Immediately he was cold, he was scared. Where is this voice coming from? In a deep desert or valley. Nobody here. And the thing which you saw as a fire when he went, it was not a fire actually. It's not real fire. It was just an image. He's told, Ikhlan alayka, take off your shoes. Number 1 was take off your shoes. Innaka bil wadi muqaddasi tuwa. You're in a sacred valley here. Take off your shoes. Allahu Akbar. Innani ana rabbuk. I am your Lord. throw your stick, it turns into a snake. Musa turned away to run. Allah says, La takhaf, don't fear and don't run. You are a prophet from today. Same thing which happened to the Prophet ﷺ. He was filled with fear. He went to Waraqah. Waraqah said, oh, you're a prophet now. And then Jibril came second time, and he goes to him and now gives him the direct news. Ya ayyuhal Muddaththir, oh you who's covered up on your bed. Stand up. فَأَنذِرْ and warn the people. Now you're a prophet. It's natural. It's not a simple thing. Inshallah, your husband's wives don't turn into snakes. So that's natural. I know, because I myself, it used to confuse me. And why was the Prophet ﷺ scared? But then when you learn the Quran, you see it is natural. It's natural. Allah says, Ya ayyuhal Muddaththir, O you who's covered up. What does cover up mean? It means there's a sense of fear. It means there's a need of security. Allah said to him what? Stand up. Not just uncover yourself, don't cover yourself. No. Allah says, stand up, arise. Fa'anzir and warn the people. There was a direct command that now you have a task, now you have a job. The greatest job in the world. Warning the whole humanity. That is not simple. فَأَنذِرْ وَرَبَّكَ فَكَبِّرْ and your Lord, glorify Him. Do the takbir of your Lord. That is why even in our salah, in our daily lives, every time it is Allahu Akbar. And look how Allah says, وَرَبَّكَ, your Lord. Because your connection to your Lord, my connection to my Lord is personal. Allah did not say, and your Lord in general, وَرَبُّكُمْ. No. Allah said, وَرَبَّكَ, your Lord, the one who created you, Allah. Stand up and glorify Him. This is the condition of what? Doing your da'wah. فَأَنذِرْ to what? To Allah, tawhid. That is what you're going to do. It's tawhid. Glorify Him alone. Not Lat, not Uzza, not Manat, not Hubal, all those idols we talked about. And that is how da'wah starts, and it will always start successful da'wah in Islam. You start with tawheed. Because if someone is a muwahid, he glorifies Allah alone, does not commit shirk. Even if he commits other sins, one day he'll go to Jannah. Tawheed is the most important thing. That is why all of the prophets, this was their job, like we said yesterday. Isa, Jesus in English. Musa, Moses in English, alayhi salam. Ibrahim. All the prophets, Allah says in Surah An-Nahl, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِن قَبْلِكَ مِن رَسُولٍ إِلَّا نُوحِي إِلَيْهِ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا أَنَا فَاعْبُدُونَ. We did not send any messenger before you, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, except that all of them, we gave them one job, one description, one task. La ilaha illa ana, Allah says, no one to be worshipped except me. Tawheed is the da'wah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. وَرَبَّكَ فَكَبِّرْ وَثِيَابَكَ فَطَهِّرْ and your garments, your clothes, purify them. What does that mean? How many of you memorize Surah Al-Muddaththir? If you memorize it, let me see about show of hands. Okay, tell me, what does وَثِيَابَكَ فَطَهِّرْ mean? Your clothes purify them? No. There's two meanings to it. Yes. وَثِيَابَكَ فَطَهِرْ. Excuse me, please. I'm sorry, I never do this, but I have to do it today. I am coming. My friend is getting married in 15 minutes. Yes, very good friend of mine. He's getting married, right, in 15 minutes. So I have to go. And you'll have lunch. Yeah, here in Ottawa, somewhere here. I don't know the street name. I don't know what. I have GPS. Anyway, sorry. I never interrupt my classes by taking a phone call. It's just something special today. وَثِيَابَكَ فَطَاهِرْ, yes, it means purify your garments from any najasa. Let them be clean. Some scholars said it was an indirect command towards salah now. Indirect. But also in Arabic, the word thiyabak, it actually, in classical Arabic, used to be used for akhlaq, manners. Yes. And they used to use this term, thiyabaka fatahir, and there's lines of poetry, I didn't memorize them. It actually means have good manners. If you go to the books of Tafsir, you'll find the details. So it was actually a call to tawhid and then good manners. Or salah. And both of them are correct. And lastly, وَالرُّجْزَ فَهْجُرْ, and stay away from the rujz, which is the idols. So how did Islam start? Islam started by saying, read. How do you read? In the name of your Lord, tawheed. When did he become a prophet now to stand up? By tawheed. قُمْ فَأَنذِرُ رَبَّكَ فَكَبِّرْ, to the end of rujza fahjur. After that, wahi, revelation used to come, and it will come for 13 years in Mecca, and then he is going to run away to Medina because his people want to kill him, and he's going to go to Medina and stay for 10 years, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and wahi will continue for 23 years. We said, why did Allah not just bring a book to his prophet and say, this is the Quran, use it until you're dead? Why did Allah not do that? In fact, he just brought the Quran in 23 years as per the situation or the need. Why? The answer is in the Quran.
Overwhelming for people.
Number one, it will be overwhelming for people. That is very correct. Number two,
So you can implement it as it comes.
huh?
You can implement it slowly. No.
So you can start, because that's the same thing. Implementation will be tough. Imagine again, don't forget what kind of society it is. They drink alcohol every day. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, and evening snack, alcohol. They deal in riba, commit zina so much. They kill each other. They worship 360 idols. You bring them a book, say all of that, haram, 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 haram. They say, no, we don't want that. That's how human beings are. Why did Allah bring it in 23 years? That is good. That's a good point. Yes. Very good, mashallah. Do we have those books to give out as gifts?
Yes.
Oh, you'll have a gift. Inshallah. Allah says, they ask you, they used to ask him, then why didn't your God bring a book? Allah says what? لِيُثَبِّتَ بِهِ فُؤَادَكَ. So we can make you tough. We can make you steadfast. We can remove your stress from you. That is where the Quran came as per situation. Something happened, Quran comes down for that situation. Something happens, Quran comes down. Aisha radiallahu anha, she says, listen, so you know the importance of starting with tawheed. Next time you do da'wah to your Christian, atheist, Jewish, Buddhist, whatever they are, your friend, your co-worker, whatever it is, you start with telling them, worship Allah one. Whether they're going to wear hijab after that, or they're going to fast Ramadan, that's between them and Allah. Make sure they're just muwahidun. Aisha radiallahu anha, she says, if the first thing the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam came with, this is in Sahih Bukhari also, was do not drink alcohol and do not commit zina, fornication, no one would have believed. No one would have believed. Humans would take time to throw away habits. Imagine they've been in those habits for thousands of years. But the first thing he came with was what? The most logical, simple thing which befits the fitrah of a human being, which is what? You can't worship an idol you made yourself from wood. There's only one Allah, one true God. When they were told that, then they believed it. Allahu Akbar. They carried this deen all the way to China, all the way to North Africa. That's why many of us today, we are born Muslims because our great-great-great-great-grandfathers were given da'wah by the Sahaba, radiallahu anhum. How did they become Muslim? The Prophet told them, worship Allah alone. When they were ready, now they're told, khamr, alcohol is haram. They said, yeah, throw it away. Because they were ready. They had Allah with them. So then wahi continued.